So I am here with Emily Scott, my favorite new person. Emily,
My favorite new
well, thank you. You were the first person that I met this morning who was new to me. And within 2 minutes, we realized we had a connection that was far bigger than just business.
Yeah.
I think connection is one of the most important opportunities of an event like this because we're surrounded by so many potentially like-minded people that want to do bigger things in the world. So what's your best advice on how people can optimize the experience of being here to carry the world forward?
I love this question, actually, and I could go on and on forever. And Tanya's like, she and I are going to have so many hours together. She's going to be a little nervous that she's not going to have time for anything else, but that's okay. So my number one advice always, always is come to the conversation curious. There's so much to know. At my ripe old age, what I've said often is that we have buckets. We have the bucket of we know what we know. We have the bucket of we think we know what we don't know. And then we have the bucket we don't know what we don't know. And the older I get, as I say, the last two buckets get bigger by the hour. So please come to the conversation curious. That's number one. And number two, be vulnerable. It is really okay. If somebody gets uncomfortable with your vulnerability, that's on them. Keeping your authenticity and transparency, you will learn more. It will impact you more because you're not trying to be somebody else. You know, at 61 years old, as I told Tanya within the first 5 minutes of meeting her, I finally woke up and went, the role of Emily Scott is going to be played by Emily Scott. And that is when my world exploded and my curiosity got tested, wonderfully so, every single day. And all it made me want to do is even ask more questions and even want to learn more. So that's what I would offer up.
Fantastic. I've got one more question. I love quotes. I collect quotes. I have a database of quotes. And all morning I have been mentally registering quotes that I need to come back to. I want to publish a calendar of the brilliant quotes from here.
It's a great idea.
I'm going to talk to Shama and John about it. I think it would be a great takeaway from the conference.
Absolutely.
What are some of your favorite quotes or intentions from this morning that have stuck with you?
Great question. One of the speakers just talked about not taking on investors, and one of her friends forced her to take her on as an investor. And what she said was, you're going to work harder for me than you ever will for yourself. And on one hand, that makes me very sad. On the other hand, I think it's very realistic. As women, I think and I will say that this is a little gender, because at our core, we care. And we care about others, and that shows up in what we do. And if you are going to have a moment of doubt of yourself and say, okay, never mind, that instinct of ours in our genetic makeup will force us to move forward. And sometimes you need that force. Sometimes you need somebody else to say, I got your back, and or you need to say, I have to protect somebody. Your mama bear instinct can work really well for you, not just for the other person. And I think that really strongly resonates, and as women, and I think today, what this piece of this is how are we going to partner? How are we going to collaborate? How are we going to support? How are we going to invest in ourselves and invest in other women? And that piece of it, it's not just an intellectual exercise, it's an emotional exercise as well. And I would say that's one. The second one is what people have said over and over and over and over again, Tanya, is to trust yourself. I would add to that, though. I would say, absolutely learn to trust yourself, absolutely learn to trust your gut. Before you do that, learn what your gut is. How is your gut helping you? How is your gut standing in the way? Because we all have internal committee members that are there to protect us. And sometimes their voice is loud and not necessary. So it is learning to say, to those individuals in your internal committee. Thanks so much for giving me that head warning. Is it a yellow light? Is it a red light? And if it's a yellow light, go, thanks so much, I'm good, and you move on. Spend that time and invest in yourself to learn who you are and who your gut is, what your gut is, and when is it helping you and when is it standing in your way.
Oh, beautiful. I am so glad the universe conspired for us to meet.
So much more that's going to be happening.
Much more. I can't wait to discover what's in store for us. So, Emily Scott, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I'm looking forward to the future.